Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to Vedic Heritage. I present another episode in Indian astronomy, Jyotisha Shastra. We will see about lunar eclipse and the observances for this period. What is an eclipse? An eclipse occurs when one heavenly body moves into the shadow of another heavenly body. Eclipse is called Grahanam in Sanskritam. Grahanam is the act of grasping, light of a body grasped by a shadow. For example, Surya or Sun is grasped by Rahu, Rahugrastha Surya Grahanam. Or Chandra, the moon, is grasped by Ketu, Ketugrastha Chandra Grahanam. It is also called Upagraha, meaning coloration or darkening. Now let us see how a lunar eclipse occurs. We know that the sun emits light, but the moon has no light of its own. The moon is visible to us only because we see the sunlight reflecting off its surface. The moon moves around the earth while the earth orbits around the sun. Twice every month, the moon is directly in front of the sun and it is completely lit by it. When we are between the sun and the moon, we see the brightly lit side of the moon. Thus, it is seen as a full bright moon. This day is called a full moon day, the Tithi of Purnima. Similarly, when the moon is between the earth and the sun, we see only the unlit side of the moon. Thus, we cannot actually see it. This is the new moon day, the Tithi of Amavasya. On the full moon day, even though the earth is between the sun and moon, we get to see the fully lit up moon. That sounds confusing. Does the earth not block the sunlight from falling on the moon? This is because the moon's movement around the earth is at an angle in comparison to Earth's movement around the sun. Therefore, even though the Earth's position is between the sun and the moon, it does not always block the sunlight hitting the moon. During the duration of a lunar year of 354 days, there are 2 points when the sun, moon, and earth are on the same plane. On these 2 occasions, as the earth moves between the sun and the moon, it does block the sunlight falling on the moon. And the sunlight hits the earth instead, and the earth's shadow falls on the moon. Thus, we see a full moon slowly getting blocked by the earth's shadow. This occurrence is called a lunar eclipse, Chandra Grahanam, the grasping of moon's light by the shadow of earth. A lunar eclipse can therefore occur only on a full moon day, the Tithi of Purnima, when the sun, earth and moon are in one straight line. I mentioned that there are 2 lunar eclipses in a lunar year. But since the Western calendar uses a solar year of 365.25 days, by this calendar, while we may see 2 lunar eclipses in most years, in some years we may witness 3, or 1, or none at all. There are 2 kinds of lunar eclipse observations. 1. If we observe from a location on Earth where the lunar eclipse is centered, the period of eclipse may last over an hour. It is called a total lunar eclipse, Purna Chandra Grahanam. As we move further away from the center, the eclipse may occur only for about 30 minutes. It is called a partial lunar eclipse, Paksha Chandra Grahanam. Indian systems specify further divisions among the partial eclipses depending on how far away from the center one is. This helps to decide the severity of affectation by the eclipse for individuals. What do I mean by affectation of eclipse? From the Vedic times, as far back as Rig Veda, we see mention of eclipses and how they may have adverse effects on individuals as well as our environment. That topic is for another day. Today, let us see the observances mentioned in Hindu texts which tell us both the benefits and risks of Grahana Kala, the eclipse time. Our ancient Hrshis advise us to follow the following practices during this period. If the Grahanam is visible from any particular location, even in a partial level, even if hindered by clouds, the observances are applicable. What is beneficial? Any spiritual observance done during Grahana Kala, the actual period of Grahanam, will equal multifold benefits. Meditation, prayer, rituals will afford immense benefits. Dhanam or charity is recommended at the conclusion of the eclipse. It is said to mitigate the ill effects of the Grahanam. Other observances to follow to avoid detrimental effects of the eclipse are: firstly, food. Food and drinks, including water, are to be avoided for 3 praharas, that is 9 hours prior to the onset of, as well as during the lunar eclipse. Exceptions for pregnant women, small children who are unable to fast, and the very old and very ill persons, they may observe the same for just 1 prahara, that is 3 hours. Any food prepared or drinks stored prior to this period need to be discarded as they may get polluted by the effects of the Grahana. Groceries such as wheat, rice, dal, and edibles such as milk, yogurt, pickles, etc., which need to be kept, can be saved by adding kusha or darba grass or tulsi leaves to them before the eclipse starts. Food should be freshly prepared after the end of the eclipse and consumed if required. When the eclipse time is late at night, food may be prepared only the next morning after a bath. Bath and hygiene become an important observance during this period. A bath is advised at the onset of the eclipse and another after the eclipse is fully complete. This helps to wash away the ill effects of the rays emitted during the Grahana period. The bath before the onset should be had with the day clothes on, since these clothes may already carry some of the rays emitted prior to the Grahanam. Similarly, all bed clothes and muddy or clothes sanctified earlier will need to be washed after the Grahanam. Clothes left in hangers outside the cupboards also need a wash. What are the prohibited activities during this period? Passing of stool, urine, combing of hair, and brushing teeth are all prohibited during the Grahana Kala. Sexual activities too are to be avoided. There are specific notes for pregnant women. Pregnant women are advised to stay indoors away from the direct rays of the Grahanam, as it may prove detrimental to the developing fetus in small ways which are not yet scientifically known to us, but are given in the traditional texts. In some cases, it may even lead to miscarriage. Cutting, stitching, and using of needles are to be avoided as well by pregnant women. I hope this information helps you in observing our traditional practices for the Grahana Kalam. Do share with others who may find this knowledge helpful. Do subscribe and enable notifications if this content appeals to you. Thank you for joining me. Hari Om.